There was this 4-year-old boy who came running out of the bathroom, screaming to his mom for help. The mother came running up the stairs and said, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And he says, "I dropped my toothbrush in the toilet." The mother calmed him down, said, "It's all right. Everything's okay. Don't worry. We're just going to throw that one away and get you a new one." And he stood there for a second, and he ran back into the bathroom, and he came out with the mother's toothbrush, and he said, "Well, we probably should throw this one away too because it fell in the toilet a few days ago." Aren't kids great? Have you ever really taken the time to really listen to kids when they want to tell you something? They have this excitement about them, this joy. They have this matter-of-fact attitude. They really want you to hear what they have to say. Our youngest grandson, Miles, is very much like that. Now, when we see him in person, he's just like all over the place. But when he is on the phone, when we're FaceTiming, he's like, "Grandpa, I got to tell you something." And I'm like, okay. And he does. He tells me what him and his friends have done this past week in school, and he's so excited. And the reason that he's so excited is because he gets to see Grandpa. No, that's not it. Sorry, Grandma, I didn't mean to do that. But I'll pay for that after service, so it's okay. But he is just so full of life. And the reason those kids are able to do that is because they're untainted by this world, right? There's that innocence to them. I remember, I didn't say this in the first service, but now I've got a reason to say this in the second service. I remember this very same scenario happening long ago. You won't know this, but I have a niece that's in attendance today. Showed up out of the blue. I did not know about it. Anna did. But she made me an uncle when I was 7 years old. And I remember all that of her growing up and how she was very much like that excitement in her voice. And Hope, I'm putting you on the spot, right? So if you get a chance to say hi to Hope on the way out, please do so, and her husband. But it's not the words or gestures that really should captivate us when our kids are talking to us. It's that innocence that should speak out. And I say, man, you know what? I wish I had that same excitement and joy. You don't think I'm excited at all, right? I don't get excited. I don't get overwhelmed. Yeah, right. So get ready. It's coming today. But we should have that same excitement and joy in our lives, shouldn't we? And why should we have that same excitement in our lives? Jesus. Who said that? Thank you so much, because we have Jesus. We have every reason to be excited. We have every reason to be on fire because we have Jesus in our hearts and our lives. What else? Is there anything better than him? Nothing. Remember that song we sing here? If we've got Jesus, we've got it all, right? Donnie, that goes to you every single time. And when that excitement and joy are present in our lives, it affects the way that we speak to each other, the way we talk to each other. Today, as we go back into our series, The Words We Speak, we're going to come upon a passage that's going to teach us about speaking the truth in love. And we're sometimes not really good at that, right? We can speak the truth, but sometimes it's not in love. And sometimes we don't speak the truth and we still love people, but we need to look at it this way. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever had someone tell you the truth, but when they did it, it kind of felt like a slap in the face? It happens, right? Or maybe someone sugarcoated something so much that they never really got around to the truth. See, both of these things are dangerous, but God calls us to speak the truth in love. In Ephesians chapter 4, that we're going to be looking at this morning, we're going to find Paul writing to the church in Ephesus, and he's telling them how they need to be unified in their faith and grow in maturity as a body of believers. And the words we read here in this passage are not just for the people in the church in Ephesus, they're for us today too, because we can get a lot from this passage. Let's read those. I'll read those verses to you. As a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you who were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. We know God, right? We know there is one God. One God. The world doesn't know that. The world doesn't know who he is, and that's what we are called to take out there into the world. Tell him who he is. But then in verse 15, Paul goes on to give us a crucial key on how we can come together in unity and grow as a body. As we've just welcomed some new members to our church body, we want to grow and mature together as the body of Christ, right? Verse 15 says these words, "Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ." Okay, I'm going to stop for a second because it gets dry up here. But what is he saying to us? What's Paul saying? He's saying that truth and love are not opposites. They go hand in hand. If we only speak truth but lack love, we hurt people. If we only show love but never tell people the truth, we leave them in the darkness. Not just truth, not just love, but together. You see, some of us have the truth, but we don't know how we can deliver it to people. Some of us have love, but we're so timid, we're afraid to speak. Jesus was the perfect example. He confronted sin, but he did it with compassion. That's how we are to be. He corrected people, but always with an invitation to grace. Do you remember the story of the woman at the well? We're going to look at that and how Jesus treated her. John 4, verses 3 through 6 says these words. Did I just do it again, Kevin? I missed that verse again, didn't I? That's okay. Okay, it's good. I missed a verse in the first service, and I went, duh, we need that. Listen to these words. "So he left Judea and went back once more to Galilee. Now he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. So Jesus went through Samaria, a place that Jews never really went through because they were avoiding people. They were avoiding the outcasts of society. Do we have any outcasts in society today? We do, don't we? But do we go by them? Do we have blinders on and we go by them and we say, oh, yep, I see them, but I don't want to do anything to help them? That's not how we are called to be, right? Because we're all created by God. So we're supposed to take care of each other. That's how God created us, to be there for each other, to lift each other up. We just said that we're going to lift the new members up, but that's not just them. We need to lift each other up, not just in this church, but everywhere. We're to lift each other up. That is exactly how God created us to be, to help each other in our time of need. But yet some of us can be like that, can be like the Jewish people from time to time. We avoid people who make us uncomfortable, dodging conversations we don't want to have, or maybe we're in a grocery store and we see someone and we go the long way around because we don't want to talk to them. Now, I asked this in the first service and nobody raised their hands. That's a warning. No, has anybody ever seen me in a grocery store and just gone the other way? I knew we'd get some that raised hands in this one. Oh, my goodness. Why did I ask that question? But see, Jesus shows us a different approach, doesn't he? He always went towards people. He didn't go away from them. He wasn't worried about his reputation. He wasn't concerned about what people would think. He was concerned about restoration of broken people. So when Jesus arrived at Jacob's well, he was weary from the journey. And what happened? The woman came to draw the water, right? John 4:7 says these words. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" Now, I want to stop there for a second. Think about this. They didn't talk. They didn't have conversations. That was different. Jesus crossed that barrier, right? Because we tend to put boundaries up sometimes, don't we? There's some people we want to talk to, and there's some people we won't talk to. And yet Jesus threw down all the barriers. He said, I'm going to be there for her. Yes, I know who she is. I know what she's gone through. I want to show her love. See, by doing that, he was creating a situation, open door for a deeper spiritual conversation. And I think we need to think about that. When we see people in need, we should go to them. And not just to help them physically, because that's one aspect of it, right? But spiritually, because everyone needs Jesus. And so the woman came by herself. They said it was the hottest part of the day, around noon. And why did she come alone? probably out of shame, probably because she was avoiding the whispers of the other women, the judgment of the other women. Maybe she felt rejected and didn't feel like she was welcome and part of them. But Jesus saw her for who she could be, not just for who she was. He didn't ignore her past or pretend like it didn't exist. He knew her pain. He knew her broken relationships and her sin. And he didn't lead with rebuke. He led with love, with a relationship. Instead of throwing truth at her, he offered her love. And that's the difference that we have to get our focus on, right? See, love makes truth effective. Love opens the heart to receive it. Jesus didn't just pass by. He jumped in. And that's how we are to be, right? We're to jump in. When people are in need, we are to be there for them. That's really how God created us, to be there for each other. So if we're called to speak the truth in love, how do we do it? It starts with our posture first. Before we even open our mouths, we need to look at our hearts. We need to examine our hearts and make sure we are right with the Lord, right? Make sure our attitudes are right. Remember last week we talked about the words that we say, that where do they come from? The attitudes, all that comes from the overflow of our heart, right? So we need to check our hearts to make sure that they are in tune with God before we even speak to others, into the lives of others. Because truth without love is like swinging a sword in the dark. You may be right, but you're leaving a trail of wounded people behind. Because when love leads the way, it cleanses, it restores, and sets people free. Now, love is the posture. I want us to think of it this way, as the difference between a butcher and a surgeon. A butcher, what do they do? Now, Dave Donnelly was not in here for the first service, and he's a retired butcher, and I wanted to have him hear this, but I think he heard it out there. But what does a butcher do? They go into the shop and they cut all this, they throw all the old parts away. They're separating the bone from meat. No care, no precision, no healing. But a surgeon uses a blade too, but every cut has a purpose. Every incision is made with skill, designed to heal, not to harm. Their cuts are intentional. And so we need to ask ourselves this question. When it comes to our words, are we cutting like a butcher, or are we speaking like a surgeon? Too many people today are just swinging that butcher's knife, and they don't care about the people they hurt. They don't care about the people they wound with their words. They don't care what the damage their words can do to others. We need to be more like Jesus. See, he never dodged the truth. He knew how to use it. He knew when to speak, how to speak, and most importantly, why to speak. And he always did it from a heart full of compassion and love. And if we're going to follow him and be like him, we need to learn what John 1:14 says. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And you say, what are we taking from that? We need to be full of grace and truth, don't we? In our conversations with others. See, Jesus wasn't just full of truth. He was full of grace and truth. He didn't just call out sin. He called people into freedom. That's exactly what he does for us, right? He steps into our mess. And man, we could be a mess, can't we? We can be such a mess, and yet Jesus is there for us always, right? We can cry out to him in our darkest times, in the trials that we're facing. And maybe you've come with some things today, and you're like, whoa, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Cry out to him. You're not alone in this. He wants to walk through this with you. And when he finally spoke the truth to that woman at the well, you know what she did? She listened. She paid attention to every word he said. Not out of fear, not out of obligation, because she encountered someone that saw her not just for who she was, but for who she could become. And that's how we need to look at people around us, through the eyes of Jesus, not for who they are or what they're going through, but for who they can become in Jesus. And remember what the woman did? She ran back and told people about him. Because when you've truly seen Jesus, you can't keep him to yourself. Do you remember when you first accepted Jesus as your Savior? Think back to that time right now. Don't leave me in this moment, but think about that, right? Were you the most excited person in the world and you wanted to go out and shout and tell people? I was 14 years old on a church bus, and my brother-in-law, Frank, you know him. Hope's back there like, I think I know the guy. But he's my uncle. But I accepted Christ on that church bus, and I tell you what, I couldn't wait for those doors to open wide, and I ran and told everybody the decision I had just made, how on fire I was. You know what? And it was lasting. Yeah, I went through valleys. I went through times where I was like, maybe I can still do it my way. But then I remembered that decision I made, right? I remembered that commitment to living my life serving and honoring him. And he changed my life forever. And that's what Jesus can do for all of us. See, the mark of a mature Christian is the ability to speak the truth in love. And my brother-in-law spoke the truth in love to me that day on that church bus. And it did change my life forever. But Jesus gives us this model of the story of the woman at the well. And yet so many people still struggle in this area. Some are speaking truth, but are terrible at speaking in love. Many can quote scripture and correct you in a heartbeat, but they lack grace and compassion. They know how to be right, but they don't know how to be righteous. What they call speaking the truth is often just proving a point with no regard for restoring a person. We've all been there before, haven't we? When we've even said maybe, I'm just telling you like it is. And that's the wrong attitude. Coming at someone like, I'm going to tell you what I think of you. Well, you better do it in love, right? If you're a believer, you better do it in love. Because what message are they going to take away from that? That you're not any different than anybody else in this world, right? The real test of spiritual maturity isn't calling people out. It's calling them back to Jesus. Truth becomes redemptive when it's delivered with grace. Proverbs 27:6 says these words. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. I can't even read from here. Maybe I should put the glasses back on, right? In other words, real friends are going to tell you the truth because they care about you, because they really love you. And they'll do it with compassion and grace because they want the best for you. Love gives truth its aim. Love gives truth its purpose and its effectiveness. 1 John 4:8 says these words. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. That's just who he is. God is love, right? His love doesn't crush people, it delivers people. When God's love is in us, it changes how we speak. Like if I didn't have Jesus, I think I'd be a completely different person. I know I wouldn't be here today. If you didn't have him, you wouldn't be here today, would you? But people out there don't know Jesus, and they need Jesus so desperately. We're living in some pretty dark times, and it's getting darker by the day. And we need to be, as I'm skipping ahead of myself, we need to be a light in this darkness out there because it's a very dark place, a dark world. I'm going to move on, Kev. I'm going to move on to another point, just so you know. When we speak in love, we are the light. We shine the light of Jesus into someone's life. See, our words carry power to reveal Christ's love and light in this world. When we speak truth and love, we don't just heal and restore, we reflect the very light. I'm going to try something. I'm going to do something. We are the light, right? We are supposed to be the light in the world. We're going to let me just go through this passage first. I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm throwing all kind of curveballs at them up there today, and they're just awesome. Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16 says these words. You are the light of the world. A town on a hill cannot be hidden. Built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. That's a command, right? Let the light of Jesus shine out of you into those around you, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And we say that we're to be the light of this world. We're going to do something that happened in the first service, and we're just going to turn all the lights off. And I know there's light coming in through the windows, but I want you to think of this as the world around us, right? The darkness that the world is facing. Because they don't know Jesus. And yet we are supposed to be that light in this dark world and show them who he is and how much he loves them. And you know what? We can make a difference in this world for Jesus, right? By lighting up this world a little at a time, right? There's another person saved right there. Another person accepted Christ. And the more and more we share Jesus, the world is starting to light up more. The world's starting to get full of Jesus. And before you know it, this world's on fire for Jesus. And that's what we need. That's what we need to be. A light in this dark world, on fire for Jesus. Because everyone needs Jesus. It's easy to get distracted by the world. And Satan wants to distract us, wants to keep us from going out there and telling people about Jesus. We are to be the light in these people's darkness. There's people out there right now who are waiting to hear about Jesus, waiting to see the light of Jesus in someone because they're losing hope day by day. As things get darker and darker and the world gets more evil, and they're losing hope. They're living in that darkness. And I say this, we are to be the light of the world. And my question for us now is, are you willing to be the light that God has called you to be in this dark world? Oh, wow. It happened in the first service. I think I caught everybody off guard. And I'm not looking for a response. This is more like something you can say. Are you really willing? Are you willing to drop the fear? Because there's a lot of fear in talking to people, right? But how are people going to know Jesus if we don't tell them? How are they going to know? And if they don't know Jesus, their eternity is going to be in hell, right? He wants everyone to come to heaven, and I want everyone that I know to go to heaven. I want everybody in this world to go to heaven, but they have to know Jesus to get there. So we need to be that light in the world. And I say that question one more time. Are you willing to be the light in this dark world that God has called you to be? Not asked you to be, but called you to be. Because he's called us to be a light in this world. Now more than ever, people are looking for something that is real. And I hope and pray that we are being real with people out there. That we're living lives that are sold out for Jesus. And I don't mean on Sundays. I mean every day of every week, of every year that we are alive. I hope that our lives are shouting out that we love Jesus. That we've devoted our life completely to him. There's a song that's been going, this chorus has been going through my mind all week long as I've been preparing for this message. And I think it's a good thing that we hear this chorus. I'm not singing it, I'm sharing these words. Let them see you in me. Let them hear you when I speak. Let them feel you when I sing. Let them see you in me. Because there are a lot of voices out there who are going to lie to people and are not leading them to life, but leading them to death, leading them away from Jesus. So what we say matters. Our words matter. When we speak the truth in love, we ignite something. When we speak the words of truth, we light up a darkened world. When we choose to speak like Jesus, something supernatural happens. Its light turns the lights on like we just did in this dark room. And I say this is just a small part of where we are in Community Wesleyan Church in Horseheads, New York, right? We're a beginning spark. We got to let that light shine beyond Horseheads, into Elmira and Corning and Watkins and beyond, and yet all of New York State. And then out into this world, to be the light in this world. Can you imagine if we could get people to know Jesus, the revival that's going to go on in this land? Man, this world needs a revival badly, don't we? Colossians 4:6 says these words, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. It's a powerful reminder for us that everything we say has to be in love and grace like Jesus spoke. And when our words are full of grace, they draw people in. Draw people to Jesus. As the worship team comes to close, I gave you warning this time. Let me say this. What can we take away from the message this week? That we shouldn't let fear, shame, or doubt hide our light. And oftentimes we do that, don't we? We get afraid of what other people think. What other people are going to think if we mention the name Jesus. Guess what? I don't care. They need to know him. So I'm going to be bold and tell people about Jesus. I want them to see him in my life, that he's alive in me, and that he has changed my life forever, because he can do the same for them, right? We have the power to change someone's eternity with our words. We need to see people not just for who they are, but for who they can become if they know Jesus. Now, may this be our declaration at Community Wesleyan Church as we go from here today. I pray that these are the words that we will say that will be real to us, that I will speak like Jesus, that I will let my words reflect his love and his grace and truth in this world, that I will let my light shine for everyone to see, and don't hide it. Don't hide that you're a Christian. Let them know that you are a believer in Jesus Christ. And most of all, I will speak the truth and love to everyone around me, because it matters.